Hello, welcome to another episode of Walking the Spiritual Path, part 3. So I'll just get straight into the journey. I always do these actually ad hoc. I don't do any real planning. The best thing I do is just try and remember where I finished off last time and continue on from there. So I know in the last episode that I was talking about being drawn to spiritual churches and actually not having the courage to go in. But I was like 13, 14, peer pressure and all that. Anyway, if you want to delve in more into that one, watch the previous episode. And also, please remember to like and subscribe as well down the bottom. And like and subscribe to the channel so you get noted and hit the notification bell so that you do get notified of all the other videos that I do besides this one and this one too. So moving forward now a few years and coming into sort of like leaving school and going into really the adult journey of an apprentice electrician, so straight into a tradie journey, which is far removed from the spiritual journey, absolutely. And it sort of went quiet for a couple of years on those. Just I don't really recall anything. Just the biggest thing I remember is there was just one particular day that for no reason around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my mood just plummeted. And I just felt in a really somber mood and there was no real reason for it. Work was just what it was. It seemed enjoyable at the time. And then when I got home, it turned out my sister had had a really, really bad car accident. Now, she survived. She's fine and living, an elder sister. So she's still alive. And it happened exactly the time my mood changed. So that for me, that was just another pointer to go, okay, I can pick up on things. And even back then, I just thought everyone could do it. It was I just thought that's a normal thing. And I suppose within family dynamics, that can be. You do get a sense. And it's the same for relationships when you've been with the same person for many years. You get a sense. So I didn't really think, even looking back, it was, to me, that was nothing out of the ordinary. So if you've had experiences like that you don't feel are out of the ordinary, but you can definitely class in the realm of intuition, then add that to the pile of you've got abilities, or you've got a knowing and a conscious awareness of this unseen ability to tune into energy and frequency and signals sent out mentally, emotionally, which they're all sent out as energetic waves anyway, without going into quantum physics and quantum entanglement, all those kinds of things. You can do your own research on those. So then it just passed again, 17. I mean, I said it didn't last long, but around 17, something really started to start pushing me then. I was coming out of, I suppose, the protective bubble of my parents to becoming into my own adult life, where I made all my decisions and lived by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing. And I think at 17 and a half, I don't even know, can't even remember now, it's that long ago. Just I came across a psychic fair or a place where a psychic, and I got a reading. I was just curious, again, something, but this time, like maybe the experience of the spiritual church was just to go, look, next time it happens, just take that leap. Be strong. I was with my best mate at the time, so the peer pressure was there immediately, and I just went, well, I'm going to go and have a reading and see what it's all about. I'm just curious more than anything. And what they said to me was, you're not using your gifts enough. And that's what they said. They didn't really tell me what those gifts were. And that's all I can remember of it. And the subsequent readings over the next couple of years, just jumping ahead a little bit, they were pretty much the same. You're not using your gifts enough. And every time, it just got further. I'm like, well, I wish someone would tell me what they are. And later on down the journey that we've talked about in subsequent episodes, I found out what they were just bit by bit, reading books, talking to people, talking to psychics, talking to mediums and all that kind of thing. So anyway, I didn't think anything too more of it for a few months. spare the fact that I just wanted to know, that it created this curiosity in me. So if you're walking that journey and something's created that curiosity in you, no, it will never go away. Once it starts, it's always there. You're just learning different aspects of that spiritual journey, different aspects of that inner knowing, inner tuition, that thing that's non-tangible inside you that forces you and impels you and pushes you to act certain ways and do things with no rhyme or reason. Definitely not logical. So with that being said, I think I saw an advert in the daily in the daily press, in the daily newspapers for, I think it was a tarot. It was an astrological tarot that had been compiled by the guy that did the daily astrology in the papers, Russell Grant or someone like that, his name was. And so, there was no internet back then. So, you had these little cut out things that you filled in with a check, I think, and you post it off to these people. And then I think 2 weeks later or a month later, my very first set of tarot cards were delivered to me. An interesting way to go about it. And during the course of that as well, I'd also started the process to join the armed forces, again, which is even further removed from what you'd consider a spiritual journey. But walking the spiritual path is often all about walking the human path, because without this human body, the spiritual gifts, the intuition, have nothing to express themselves out of. And there are so many people I've come across that are bypassing this human self, or say they don't like humans or don't like being human. And to me, that's just not respecting and not being in the energy of gratitude for this. Without these, I couldn't do card readings. Without these, I couldn't do card readings. Without all my five senses, the intuition couldn't translate what I'm feeling, or couldn't translate the ability to feel pain that's in others in my own body. So I know what's going on with them as a healer and as a Reiki master, to feel that heat and all those things. I need this physical human body. We need this physical human body. So it's an incredible mechanism, organic mechanism to wonder and to wonderful wonder about. And that being said as well, that when you're balanced with your human and your energetical and your emotional and your mental, you can handle situations very easily, because you can apply the relevant tool and the relevant frequency to that particular situation. Yeah, so I started the journey to join the armed forces, which was the British Royal Navy. And because I lived in a country market town, nothing really happened there. There was a big sense of me that just needed to get out, needed to explore, needed to expand. And it was a place of just where old people go to retire, really. So I joined the armed forces, did that for the next 5 years. But for me, really, that was learning again on a much deeper level, that I just didn't matter what I did, didn't matter what kind of people I was around, I just didn't fit in. I got on with the odd person here and there, as we always do. There's always people that we resonate more with. And interestingly enough, during my time in the armed forces, I formed a 3-piece rock band. We were okay. I was the lead singer. I've got an okay voice, but it was just a bit of fun. And years and years and years and years later, the guy that played the drums, he passed of cancer. So sometimes when I do mediumship, he'll pop in. So it's just interesting that there's always that connection there on an energetic level. Again, that's for an episode further down the line. And bringing it back to my late teens, I felt like I was probably going to get a reading every 6 months. Bought my first ever crystals, which is a rose quartz, which I still have. It's on my altar behind me, but I still have that. The first crystal I ever bought, which was rose quartz. I also bought a piece of hematite. So there was so much little things going on here and there that just kept that spiritual path humming in the background, but getting louder. The Jumanji drum was beating a little bit louder. That calling was speaking a little bit louder, energetically, and something was just pulling me to do little things here and there, and getting instances of knowing things that I shouldn't have known. Or, for instance, I was walking down the street and I just got a sense of this person, didn't know their name, knew their face because it was in a town that I lived. I knew their face, but didn't know their name. And then 2 minutes later, they just come riding past on a bike. Whether that was my clairvoyance, I would say that was clairvoyance just activating. And the thing is, when you walk in the spiritual path, these little things do happen. Just, it's like your higher self in the universe reminding you who you really are and what you are. Because I don't class myself as it's not what I do, it's what I am. I was born this way. I was born with a really strong intuitive ability to see and sense the environment around me in a way that a lot of others can't. And I'm not saying that makes me better than anybody, does it? I'm just different. You know, a banana's different to an orange. They're the same. They're classed as a fruit. So just like every human's classed as a human, ultimately, literally at the bare bones, the only difference is the hips. You know, with all this gender stuff going on at the moment, the irony is there's two frameworks, one male, one female, and then there's a load of muscles go on top of that, and then until you start putting melatonin into the mix, everyone looks the same. Until you put the skin and melatonin, everyone pretty much looks the same until you start putting the skin on and covering the muscles and the tendons and everything. Every human looks the same, and there's so much division. No wonder aliens don't want to come down and show themselves, because they probably think, God, they don't even accept themselves yet, let alone anyone else that looks completely different to everybody else on the planet. I mean, that's a whole podcast journey video series on its own, talking about starseed and everything like that. That will come further in time as well anyway. But this spiritual journey that we all walk, that we've all walked from the day we were born, whether you go down the religious route and go down the faith in that way, whether you stay what's considered pagan and of nature and of multi-gods, or whether you go down the singular God of Christianity, Buddhism, not Buddhism, Muslim, Buddhist is another one as well. The Hindu and Indians are believe in multiple gods. There's just, but they tend to stick to their own gods. Whereas myself, I just tune into whatever energies are around and trust that they're there to support us all, regardless of what we think we look like. And that's the difference. The amount of arguing over whose God is better than another one is just absurd, really. It's ego. Ego argues over a point that isn't worth arguing over. And we all do that journey of ego. That's the human trying to keep us safe, or trying to help us fit in, which therefore keeps us safe in this community, the collective, like the wolf pack almost. So, yeah, in the late teens, this, from episode 1, when I spoke about this guide that was around me when I was in my early years, and this darker shadow in the corner that I could sense and see, was there, but I wasn't sensing him still. He was there. The other psychics were all saying the same thing. You're not using your gifts enough. And again, no one was telling me what they actually were. I was just on a path of self-discovery. So if you find yourself in that version, just soak up knowledge, read books. But always, you've got the internet now as well. I had none of that. Just different times. So it's easier to find who you are now. It's easier to find resources from multiple places. And I suppose the more challenging thing, it's all overwhelming. And when your intuition isn't that strong, you've just got to go, okay, well, if you're drawn to something, go on the internet and go, right, I want to learn about clairvoyance. And just go down and see which one you're drawn to and read that. And it might just be you're just drawn to one sentence. It doesn't always mean that you're drawn to the whole thing. And this is a misconception around intuition. We think when we're drawn to something, it's all of it. But so many times over the years, I've been drawn to something, and it's only ever been a small part of it that's a key, one sentence of a book, even. And that just comes with practice. Yeah, it's called a spiritual practice for a reason, that the more you practice it, the more you make the mistakes, which gives you a yes and no. Okay, yeah, that worked, that didn't scenario. You binary. You work in binary, spiritual binary. Did that feel right, or did it feel bad? That's your intuition. That's your guide, and you keep going from that perspective. I mean, at the time, joining the Navy happened really easily, so it wasn't a bad thing. Learning I didn't fit in, but I'd already kind of knew that. Had experiences of traveling the world. I definitely knew I was connecting to places that I lived in previous lives. And maybe that was the journey of it, learning to connect with Mother Earth from the depths of the ocean, learning to connect to different energies of different places like Egypt and Mombasa, which is Africa, and Dubai. And this is early 90s, so long before it became a massive commercialized and holiday destination. But your journey is you're always actually on your journey, really. It's only our ego and our doubts that fear or worry or wonder if we're actually on our journey and we're doing the right thing. Whatever you're doing in the moment of the now is the right thing, because you're doing it in the moment of the now. And that's the great irony of the spiritual journey. Spoiler alert, 3 episodes in, and I've told you what the spiritual journey is all about. The detail isn't actually in the walking it. It's not the start of the journey or the destination. It's who you become during that journey. That's the key. It's who you become, because every new day you're a new person. And I was finding out who I was at 16, 17, 18 at a stronger spiritual level. My spiritual abilities were always growing in the background. And those that are watching will probably be experiencing the same thing, all these wonderings. I mean, I'm watching this journey play out in my son as well. Like, he had an upbringing of being open to this and being aware of this and having guidance when he was ready. And he's still now just kind of switching off from it. He knows about the ability to manifest and uses it sparingly. But that's his journey. The spiritual journey is your journey. People can guide you. Your spirit team are there. Your spirit guides are there to guide you, but ultimately you make the choices. And when you make the choices, it's either yes or no. And then if it's a yes, you keep going down that until it changes enough to become a no again. Then the vice versa. It's a no until it changes enough again and becomes a yes. The spiritual journey is a very flowing thing. And the biggest thing I could take from my journey from 16 to 18, 19, 20 was that the first becoming an adult, it was all about the human journey, being human enough to fit in to a world I knew that I didn't fit into, and start the journey of becoming comfortable with that. Learning human things, like to drive, and experiencing the energy of the aftermath of war, or the energy of the armed forces, and give them a power away there, and learning how to obey. And the irony is, you learn how to obey. Well, when my spirit team asked me to do something, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's get it done. So there's always lessons to be learned that are useful later on in a completely different way. So I'd like to say, always be open to change, in that the system, I'm talking governmental system, has a positive aspect if you are open to seeing that. Without the government, we wouldn't have roads, and we wouldn't have the electricity or running water and all these basic commodities that you can, at least on a daily basis of a daily gratitude, give gratitude for, which opens up your energy, because then you feel blessed every day. And if you are blessed with a spiritual ability, with a spiritual gift, and that you're fully aware of, that that's growing, and you're working on it, and you're practicing it every day, life's just going to get better and better. And it'll have its off days when you go through a dark night of the soul. You can't prevent them. And I'll talk about that later as well. So that's where I'll end it for this week. Pretty much hit into adult years now, where it's really starting to open up. And hopefully me sharing this helps you make sense of your journey a bit more, about why it seemed like you were in the dark and that your gifts weren't working and all those kinds of things. So yeah, please remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell as well, so that you get notified of when I do other videos. So thank you again for watching. Appreciate you all. Appreciate your support. And I'll see you again in the near future. Have yourself a great weekend. Take care, everyone.